Shut up and off, you say. Has to calibrate or something. I don't know what it does.
So we ready to roll?
Yeah, we're on.
Shock G interview, take one, sound of speed.
Mark.
Wait, a couple more questions.
Okay.
How many people smoked?
You.
Nobody. I don't want to be the only one smoking.
I know. I had no problem with it. It's a funk documentary. If people want to have Kavasi, I'm good with that too. Could you introduce yourself to us?
Greg Jacobs, aka Shock G, aka the original Big Nose rapper. Sometimes the piano man. And I don't know. My little brother calls me Boot One.
Where you from?
Boot One, Boot Two.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up mostly in Tampa, but I was born in Brooklyn, lived in Brooklyn at a young age, and then I lived in upstate New York, Fishkill, for about 2-3 years too. Went to junior high in Queens, PS 180 in Far Rock.
Wow, I had no idea you had such a New York connection.
And
Yeah,
elementary
hold on a
school,
second. Yeah, that
high school.
is that a problem still?
Yeah, it's still going, so I don't know if we want to.
You know what? Why isn't it?
Sorry.
It's all. That'll be it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
When did you end up in the Bay then?
The Bay was an accident for me. I was just on the move with my girl. We tried to move to LA.
Oh, TV?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I shut it on?
Please.
Yeah.
I was engaged, and she was an aspiring actress, and we didn't have that much money. We thought we might have to live in our car, so we ruled out all the snow cities, and we came to LA around 84, 85, and to my surprise, it wasn't a hip-hop scene out here yet.
Mm.
There was only like 2-3 records. I think maybe Ice-T and Egyptian Lover, that was it, Toddy T or something. And to her surprise, there wasn't a lot of work for a sister doing movies. She would always lose the part, you know, to a Caucasian American, I'll say to be nice, and started driving her crazy. Like if I was watching David Letterman and happens to be whoever actress sitting on the couch, she'd come home from work and be like, "Get them white bitches off my TV, click." I'm like, yo, I'm waiting for them to play Knee Deep. They always play Knee Deep, Paul Shaver. Yo. But she didn't have much luck here, auditioning and doing stuff. She was a pretty talented actress, I would assume. So we decided we need to move to New York. We're gonna go up the coast, say hi to her uncle in Oakland, and then make it out to New York from there. We ran out of money in Oakland, so she started stripping at Lusty Lady, and I started working at while she was going to Laney College, studying film. She was gonna make her own movies, take it under control. Her name was Davida Watts. She was gonna film her own stuff. So she took some camera classes and stuff at Laney. I started working at Music Unlimited, which is like a Guitar Center type place, Oakland. And from there, I just started meeting people, you know. I was Too Short salesman when he was working on his first album. He knows me as Greg Jacobs Keyboards. And I talked him through 75 Girls, those first records, Freaky Tales. He would call me from the studio and be like, "Where'd you say the MIDI cable goes in the in now or the out?" And most people thought MIDI cables were speaker cables, and they never understood the out to the talking through that. And that's when I met Jimmy, who, the first person I met was Jimmy Drake. He came in one day and bought $5,000 worth of equipment. My dream system I sold him. He was like, "What do I need to make records?" His family was like, "Well, what do you need?" You know? He was like, "It's just hard. It's hard being a musician now. You need all these new things. You need samplers. You need this and that." He couldn't get the sound with their regular instruments. He was a drummer, by the way. And, well, excuse me. I'm dried out. in addition to water. Let's see if a little chapstick will help. So Jimmy comes in and says, what do I need to make records? He's trying to make the transition from being a jazz drum, a fusion, they were into Return of Forever, heavy stuff, into hip hop. And so I set him up with everything he needed. I was showing him, like, see this right here? This is how Run DMC made this. Boom, boom, boom. Hear that? That's a sample. Oh, yeah. What's this? Well, that's your sequencer. What's this? And the deal was I would tutor him to learn how to use the equipment, and I could get a demo made if I could do a demo. So I did a couple house calls, and he never quite got it. He was like, but this don't make no sense. This says out, but the sound's going in. Like, I was like, it's MIDI, it's data, it's not sound. And, you know, well, check this out. Keep it going. I gotta go pick the kids up, and I gotta go grab some more weed. And he would always leave. So I'm in this guy's house all by myself in a nice place, and I'm recording underwater rhymes and Life's Cartoon songs that I was just walking around with my head, so I could send them back east to my cats in Tampa and New York and be like, hey, check this out. Not thinking nothing of it, just like, check this out, you know. We just made the stuff for us. So Jimmy, behind my back, like not secretly behind my back, just on his own whim, took the tape that I left in his thing. I only took the mix down. He took the original, the multi-track out the 4-track, and sent it to his friend Daryl in LA, who worked with Barry White and was on Taboo Records with Alexander O'Neal, Sherelle. They were popping. Daryl Ross. So Daryl Ross said, yo, we like it. We want to work with him. And that's when I got a phone call from Jimmy one day. He's like, Greg, check this out. My friend in LA, he wants to put us in the studio and put a record out. But you got to put me in the group, and we split everything 50-50. I was like, yeah, sure, okay. For real? All right. Well, I got to go on. You know, I'm busy with customers. It was so unreal to me. I've been chasing music for so many years, and we had been in so many ballad bands and so many basement parties in Queens, I DJ'd on the radio in Tampa, WTMP, and ballad bands, did it so much. Sent all the packages off. You gotta know an A&R, you gotta this. And that at that point I was done with it. And I'm just making music for me and my little brother and my friends. So when he said that, I didn't think nothing of it. So I was like, sure. And it turns out they sent for us. And that was the first of about 3 or 4 bad deals, but we recorded for Taboo for a minute, and then we recorded for Macola, and then we recorded for Crossfade Records. Reggie Jackson's brother, James Jackson, had Crossfade Records, but Reggie Jackson's auto collection burned down. He had some $2 million, 2-3, like 40 cars.
Yeah, the car collection, it's crazy.
Oh, it was crazy. Probably like, I don't know how many $1 million in cars. But
so digital doesn't come into creation until after all these other ventures.
yeah, I was in Master Blasters. First I was just part of Beach 47th Street crew. I was a record passer. I was only 13 years old, wasn't allowed to touch the turntables during the jam. But I passed the records to DJ Stretch and DJ Prince, different cats. Shock Dell, who sounded like Rakim before Rakim came out, had to stop and go flow, just like that. There's a lot of that Cartwright from Queens, and a lot of, as you know, there was a lot of unsung here, not just Busy Bee, Grandmaster Flash. There was plenty of hot people all over New York for a long time in the late 70s. But I was in that situation, and my father...
Well, let me answer this, because during this time when you're developing your craft as a musician, how interested are you following funk? Is funk influence already?
Funk was, before I moved to New York as a teenager and heard hip hop for the first time. I moved there in '77. I left in '69, moved back in '77. And before that, I was a bass player in my little neighborhood band. We had like toy drums mixed with real drums, anything we could piece together. A bass with 3 strings on it, that type of shit. We just call ourselves the Norwood Street Specials, and we was Norwood Street. Then, after that, about 2 years later, Parliament 2 and I switched to drums now. And my auntie, Kim from the Bronx, she grew up and got out of it and gave me her drum set. Finally, I got a real musical instrument. So I played drums for a few years. Parliament 2 was the name of our band. We was so into P-Funk that we was just like, we Parliament 2. We didn't think that was uncreative or nothing. We were just proud of it. I used to go to school with the star glasses on, the Boosie glasses. That's how I got the name Rackadelic. When I tag and when I draw, I always sign it Rackadelic because my birth name was Gregory Racker. And I used to come to school after the P-Funk concerts and tell everybody, yo, and then the mothership came down, and then they had a giant skull and they're smoking a blunt. I had the whole classroom captivated. They're like, damn, Rack, you so funkadelic, you Rackadelic. And that just stuck. They started calling me Rackadelic. But
what do you remember about going to see the mothership? For some people have told us that was a life-changing concert.
I didn't see that. I saw it on television. I was too young to go when it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
The first P-Funk show I caught was the Flashlight Tour. So the biggest prop in that tour, I guess, was the Funkadelic skull, I think, and the big giant lighter, big blunt, giant flashlight, Bob gun, and then every tour after that. Then we went to the Rubber Band tour when Wind Me Up came out. Then the Aqua Boogie Underwater tour where it just like, what's holding the water back? We didn't understand what was holding it. It just looked like the whole stage was underwater. And of course they did it with smoke, lighting, fans. Like it was a giant fish tank with no glass. It was amazing. But yeah, I caught all of those. But you know, the mothership, everybody experienced it just from having the record. We hear it coming down. John Kirshner's rock concert. Catching footage of different people's houses, you know.
So it's interesting because, you know, people, now hip hop is associated with street life in a lot of people's minds. But what Digital Underground represented was a more, it was an extension of P-Funk in a way. It was a more experimental, you had characters, you had scenarios. Did you consciously, how did that whole thing develop?
I was hell-bent on how they never gave George a Grammy, never mentioned him. Every time they had the top 10 funk bands, they all named all these other people. It's just like, suddenly, right around the early 80s, they disappeared from the radio. It was considered too black by black radio. It was just like, we didn't understand. We thought P-Funk was this phenomenal group that was beyond anything out. And I try to tell the kids now, imagine if RZA, Eazy-E, Martin Luther King, and Huey Newton and Malcolm X were all in one person. That's who George was to us. And Tupac. It was like, this is a real living being who was just our favorite singer, our favorite producer, our favorite visual artist. It was just a lot going on with P-Funk, and then all the other people involved, and it was just so rich.
You know, one of the things interesting, is that soul music. There's been documentaries, movies, books. Sparkle's coming out. You know, again, hip hop's had more than enough movies. There's tons of books. As far as I know, there's one funk book, and there's only very few funk documentaries. Why do you think that funk? It's like it's this thing that people. It's the foundation. It's the bridge.
My mother loves music. All you hear is Barry White records blasting all year, all day. She loved Marvin Gaye, everything out. But when she come in the room and I was listening to Funkadelic, she'd always go, "Ooh, Gregory, what are you listening to? Turn that off." It was too dark for a lot of people. We would say P-Funk, like if you met someone who was in the P-Funk, no matter what state you were in, it was like meeting a brother from your planet. You was like, yo, if you saw someone in the record section, became friends, instantly traded all the records you had. You know, it was just like a Grateful Dead experience, I guess. But if you put that on, anything besides the single, on at a party, it would clear the party out. The girls wasn't into it. you had to wait till late after everybody fell off and there's only like 10 people left. And then the P-Funk people would peel off and we started playing P-Funk records. You know, they knew Flashlight. They just thought George was just a maniac, you know.
It was kind of a big cult. Would you say that?
Yeah, it was definitely an underground cult. And they didn't, I don't know, George just didn't get his due. He wasn't getting due. So Digital Underground really was a flyer. It was more of, I wasn't thinking about what I'm doing. I was really thinking about, I'm a sample. Y'all think James Brown is a hot catalog? Listen to this P-Funk stuff. And it was really, like you said, I was more continuing what they were doing. I just felt like Digital Underground was the hip-hop version, extension of Funkadelic. And we went immediately to get George on the second album, Sons of the P. He was supposed to be in the Humpty Dance video, but then that earthquake happened. 89, that earthquake was I think it was the Thursday before the Saturday we were shooting that video. It was the Thursday. And then our video was set for that. Man, that messed everything up. The bridge didn't work, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, the flights. So that's why George wasn't in it. But he happened to be in the Tommy Boy office the day that he was up there working with them for De La Soul, clearing the samples for Me, Myself, and I. And they were like, oh, George, listen, this is another group we got coming out. And he liked it so much that they had to put him on the phone. Monica Lynch was like, Shock, I got a surprise for you. And yeah, y'all got one right there, man. Woo! Yeah, you got one right there. That's smoking. How'd you come up with that? I was like, George Clinton? As soon as I heard his voice. Like, y'all almost dropped the phone. But he was like, yeah. So he said he would get in the video, but then the earthquake messed that up. And then they were on tour every time it was time for us to do something. So finally, after an EP, Sex Package, then an EP, Sons of the P, our third album, we were able to go to Detroit and put some time in with him, and it went down. We was proud. But yeah, Sons of the P was the concept, that would have been before Sex Package, actually. All of us in DU, except Jimmy, he was the jazz cat, but Smoothie Smooth, DJ Fuse, we all knew, like, P-Funk is something that people are sleeping on. You just don't hear enough of it in movies, you never see it enough. Like, it was just so slept on to us, you know, that I was really thinking just to bring more attention over to that. And then
Well, I mean, how
4
much?
or 5 albums later, Dre got on it, you know, different, suddenly George got an Essence Award, and all of a sudden, you know, everybody, all the Soul Train, everybody trying to play catch up. Suddenly he's got a neon commercial and Macintosh, and everybody's like, oh, how do we miss this? And they started getting the due that we always believed they deserved. Like, completely Grateful Dead, completely Beatles of black music. It's just beyond that, Wizard of Oz. It's just...
Talk to me about the Humpty. Is Humpty related to Sir Nose somehow? What's the relationship between Sir Nose and Humpty? Because it seems like they're children, or they're brother and sister, and one's a son or something.
Yeah. If Bootsy and Sir Nose had a baby, it'd be Humpty. Huh.
That's called a soundbite.
Well, Humpty, like Sir Nose, I heard, just evolved.
Right.
It just evolved. I was just goofing off in the studio, trying to be the Warner Brothers fraud. Hello, my baby, and when you squeeze me, you are my hip-hop doll. Yeah, baby. And then even up to Do What You Like. I'm using the voice in the song, but it was really just part of the concept. Do what you like. Let's break all the rules in hip-hop. We consciously said, we're going to do everything you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to stand in a b-boy stance cool. We're going to stand goofy. We're going to wear nerd shit. We're going to bite. Not supposed to bite. We're going to bite rhymes on purpose. And since you came here, you got to show and prove. I was doing Rakim lines, EPMD lines. Sometimes we're not going to rhyme at the end of the sentence at all. Just grab them in the biscuits and do what you like. But anyway, so it was still considered just Shock G on mushrooms to all of us. It was just me bugging out, throwing my voice sometimes. And it wasn't until we were on our way to shoot the video for Do What You Like, we stopped to we're going to throw this crazy hotel party. We need streamers, we need noisemakers, dunce hats. We want people swinging on the chandeliers, people having sex on the piano. It's got to be the most insane party ever. So all of that was in place except for decorating the hotel. So the last stop on the way to do it was Annapurna on Telegraph. Berkeley had a box of bin noses. We're getting silly string, everything, you know. Mun's over there filling up the bag. I'm over here and I noticed this box. It's got shark noses, dog noses, pig noses, and brown Groucho Marx noses. No, you know, eyebrows and mustache, just the Woody Allen glasses and the Jew nose, not the kind now they sell, they don't even look right. They're like Italian looking and different kinds. The right looking one, like Groucho, and kind of witch looking. It's rubber, it's kind of, you know, it's hooky and it's lumpy. The ones they sell now, little cheesy plastic shit, you're gonna put them on, the thing breaks off. These was the hardcore Woody Allen glasses with the real noses and everything, but they were brown. So I just tried one on and looked in the mirror and I went, yo, God, Jesus, it was so funny. I had to sneak up on the mirror. I was like, just grab him in the biscuit. Ah! I was like, Mom, look at this. I was like, look at this. Just grab him in the biscuits. She was like, ah, that's just funny. Get some of those. So we threw about 10 of those in the basket and we just kept shopping. Got to the video, the whole group would put them on. We go, okay, let's jump up in the shot and do what you like. The whole group got them on. Sometimes I'm wearing them in the Shock G voice. Sometimes I'm wearing them when I'm doing the frog voice. It wasn't until we were editing the footage. We were like, that's powerful. Everybody in the room, the director, we were like, yo, it's really powerful when you that voice in the nose. So we scrapped all the footage of me rhyming as in my Shock G voice or Money B wearing it, everybody. There's 1 or 2 shots that we left in there just to show. There's a couple shots where you see Money B wearing it, but nowhere near how we had them just passing them around like hats. They were just something funny for everybody to wear. And we realized, no, just let it be that. Still, I'm not thinking to name it yet. And it's just me bugging out with a nose on. So 6 months into that, or maybe 2-3 months into that, now the video's out, it's doing great on MTV. The song is doing okay around the States, blasting out of control in Europe though. And a few cities, pockets. New York, Atlanta, Virginia, Texas, Houston specifically, Sacramento, LA, but not everywhere. But a few places, Do What You Like was on the charts, you know, on the radio. So Laura Hines, the country Laura Hines, who worked for Tommy Boy, she's a publicist for the label, caught us at an interview somewhere. We were in Berkeley, the 94 Davey D show. No, Ricky, the Huru Maggot, who wrote History of Funk.
Right.
We're at his show. He always supported DB way before we had any records. He would play our tapes on the radio at KPFA. Danger Zone, Life's a Cartoon, all that stuff we had before we had anything pressed. And so naturally, after one Tommy Boy, we went through doing an interview with him. Humping was just a word, meant like getting crunk. Everybody in Oakland it was a musical term, you know. Yo, that shit humping, yo, that's humping, what's that? Oh, that's a new Public Enemy, whatever. I like this on the line, y'all stuff is always humping. Meanwhile, I'm on the phone with her. Y'all get to the radio station okay? I was like, listen, the phones are ringing off the hook for Do What You Like. We think you guys got a good one. You know what? They think the guy with the nose is a whole different person. You got a name for him? And in my left ear, he was like, yeah, man, y'all should be humping. I said, Humpty Hump. She said, Humpty Hump? Ha, 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 ha. That's great. I'm going to get a bio started. I'll get you, talk to you guys on Monday. And at that second, it became a different person. And everybody would help. No, Humpty wouldn't wear that. I was like, what is this? Do I look like Humpty? You know, and we just started doing it. Even the label would say, Shock, do you have girls for this MTV party? Because how many do you have? I said, well, I could bring my girl and her friend. You probably should take 4. They would get involved, and so they would hire girls for us. Or usually it was just a bunch of our friends chipping in, ex-girl, new girl, my friend's girlfriend, just so that Humpty, because at that time the big characters was Morris Day, They were all like ladies, man. Spud the dog was always by the pool. So the thing was, you gotta have girls, you know. Hip hop was kind of that way already, you know.
Humpty in a way was
Super
the beginning of the player.
I guess, but I was just doing my Uncle Tony Red. I got an uncle who asked when anytime I was humped up and I had to think quickly, like in interviews and answer people, I was always like, what would Tony say? I would just embody my Uncle Tony. He's a combination of 5 people. Humpty always was in the order that they influenced me, probably Jimi Hendrix, Bootsy, Rodney Dangerfield, Benny Hill in there somewhere, just in the thinking and the perversion, and Slick Rick, and my Uncle Tony Red. My Uncle Tony Red from St. Petersburg used to come over to fix my dad's car. You know, my stepmom, why don't you let Tony do it? You know, Tony's good with, don't take it to the dealership, he needs to work. And my dad would take a chance with him. And he would have the car in pieces and wind up just sitting on the couch watching the game. You know, woo! Nobody Green, touchdown! Yeah. Yeah, Sonny, I'll take another brew. I'll take another beer, hell yeah. You know? It's just, Mercury Mars, woo, touchdown! I told you. Then my dad would walk in the room. Oh, Eddie, yeah, we're gonna get that Cutlass running. Don't worry about it. Just these 2 pieces of carburetor I gotta figure out. Tony Green! And he would jump up again.
Yeah.
He was just, and his clothes
Is that
didn't look
working?
right.
Yeah, it's still working. Machine to replace it.
Okay. So could you talk a bit about what are the you are such a master of sampling and understanding how to use pieces. Could you talk about Humpty? What's on that and how did you figure out to make that work? Because it's such a
Yeah. So I made the bass line so it had a hump in it. Honestly, I didn't connect the sexual nature of Humpty Hump. To me, I was saying Crumpty Crump or Bumpty Bump. It was just a hip hop musical term in Oakland. Later, so now I'm putting a hump in it because hump, big nose, something that just sounded right. And then all the sexual talk, which is part of my personality. I'm a perv, you know. All the sexual in the lyrics, it was just a bonus that Humpty Hump. And I didn't even think till 10 years later, the name Eddie Humphrey, that's Humpty's real name. Edward Ellington Humphrey III. Because he needed a name, I gave him a name, you know. But later on I tripped on Eddie Humphrey. I hump free. Okay for sex. Yo, you see, it's just crazy, all this stuff that was just loaded in it. Wasn't thinking about none of that. I was just thinking about a larger than life, buffoon ass, can't tell him he's not cool, you know, nerdy but funny ass Tony Red kind of character, like my Uncle Tony Red, you know. What you mean? This is the shit, B. This is the shit, B. Always had his collar up years after that was cool, and the shirts was the crazy patterns, and we'd be at Riverfront Park, wouldn't get no play from the ladies, but he'd be hollering, you know. What's wrong with them freaks, man? They don't understand me. Tony Red, I'm Tony Red. So, you know, Humpty, that's kind of it too. Like, if you feel hot, you hot.
Let me ask you
If
this.
you feel dope, you dope. As long as you believe it.
Well, you guys became the connoisseurs of of using P-Funk samples. How did you decide? I mean, like the whole process. Like one of the things interesting is that Digital Underground Way was the predecessor of G-Funk. All that came after you guys.
Thank you.
No doubt. So I was curious. You made this commitment as a group to publicize and give funk and give P-Funk, but like
It's the state of mind that me and Smooth and my clique of P-Funk heads that we liked. It was the music and the richness. It was the unrepetitiveness. It all fits. The inclusiveness of everybody. It was a lot more to it than just jacking the beats, you know. And the James Brown stuff had been raped. The Prince stuff, it wasn't time for that yet. that catalog. It's never quite. Nobody ever laid into Prince's catalog.
Prince wasn't really. I mean,
What's the trip?
it's danceable, but it's not. There's funky records.
It's not raw.
but it's not raw.
I know what you mean.
It's very, very processed.
Yeah.
And he de-emphasized the bass. It's there, but it's not the same. You know, the keyboard thing. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole, but it's different. It don't feel the same.
Well, I grew up in Tampa and New York.
Right.
When I wasn't in New York,